Hello everyone and welcome to another video by Centipede Geek. Today I'm going to review a horror film with the name of Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. This film is written and directed by a guy by the name of Christopher Landon. He's written several films in his filmography career, such as he wrote both 2, 3, and 4 of the Paranormal Activity franchise. He also did Disturbia back in '07, and then another film by the name of Blood and Chocolate, also in the year of '07, along with a few other things on the way. And it stars actors and actresses by the name of Andrew Jacobs, Gabrielle Wash, Renee Victor, and Nomi Gonzalez. And pretty much what the main plot of Paranormal Activity and Marked Ones. If you guys don't know, this film is not a direct sequel to Paranormal Activity 4. It's actually more of a Latino spinoff with a obviously a Latino cast. And it's more of a spinoff of the Paranormal Activity franchise. So you have Paranormal Activity 5 that comes out later in October of this year, I believe, and then you have Paranormal Activity The Marked Ones, a spin-off of the Paranormal Activity franchise. And pretty much what this film centers around, I don't want to say too much, but it's pretty much centers around these people that are marked, and I don't want to say how or why or anything like that, but it's pretty much about two young guys that get a video camera, and let's just say they're a little too curious for their own good. They live in like some old rundown like hotel or motel of some kind, and they start, recording things, certain events that are happening around them. And I don't want to say anymore, but that's the main gist of the film with the name of Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. So overall, before I state my opinions on this film, let me just give you guys a quick rundown of what I thought of the previous Paranormal Activity films, just so you guys know. I'm not a big fan of the Paranormal Activity franchise. It's kind of overdone. They're kind of just blah. They're really boring to me. And overall, just the past few films haven't been very good. I will say, I really did enjoy the first Paranormal Activity film, the Paranormal Activity 1. I really enjoyed the first one. I thought it was really cool, creative, kind of, reinvented kind of the found footage. Not really reinvented it, but made it more mainstream, and, now there's quite a bit of them now. And then we have Paranormal Activity 2. I thought 2 was decent. I really need to rewatch it, to get my full opinion on it. 3, I thought 3 was utterly despicable, terrible film. I hated 3. And 4 is probably one of the worst horror films that I've seen in the past several years. I really hated 3 and 4. 4, don't even waste your time if you have it. In my opinion, I haven't liked the past few films. Now, Paranormal Activity The Marked Ones was honestly kind of a return to form for these movies. It had one of the best things about it was the concept. Just so you guys know, there will be spoilers in this video. I really enjoyed the concept of the movie. The concept of them being marked. Slowly finding out how they got marked. Why they are marked. And after the film, you still don't know fully why these things are happening. And like I said, there will be spoilers. So, the whole army thing, what's the army, what is this army of warriors for? And you slowly find out things, the whole time travel aspect, and so you slowly find out things, but you're not given the full story. So that was the most interesting thing about the film, the concept. And I really like how he goes from being good to bad. You have this, at first it's really cool, him being marked gives him superpowers. He's able to jump really high. He's really strong. He can levitate. And I like the whole transition. It's a perfect transition where it goes from being really good, all these things are great, and then it completely changes angles, starts to change his personality, starts to drive him to go crazy and to a psycho, obviously, because he's marked. And I like the whole transition from going really good to really bad. Now, that's one of the best things about the film. There are some, it's not really that scary, but there are some very creepy and eerie vibes I thought that really added to the overall tone to the film. Has a nice pattern to it. It's very slow moving. Obviously, all of the Paranormal Activity films are very kind of slow moving. Paranormal Activity The Marked Ones, it does feel like a Paranormal Activity film. Just by the way it's shot, the way it looks, the way events, slowly, gradually move, kind of one of those slow burn films where you slowly find things out. So it does feel like one. In my opinion, it breathes some, kind of a fresh air, and new life into the film, because in most Paranormal Activity films, in my opinion, you kind of have to wait till like the last 5 minutes for anything to happen. That's my main complaint, is that they're really boring, and that when something does happen, it's the same thing you've seen several times in the film. It's not the case with Paranormal Activity The Marked Ones. Yes, you do have to wait for certain scenes, but it's done in a much better manner where it makes it more interesting. This kid has powers, He's able to do things that he wasn't able to do before. And then one of the most interesting things about the film, as I said, as the concept, is the whole time travel aspect. I wasn't for sure how they were going to play that into the film. I wasn't for sure if they were going to introduce it at all because, towards the first 30, 40 minutes, they talked about this door that would take, this marked door, that would take you to an unholy place. And they talked about time travel. So I wasn't for sure how that was going to play into, if they were going to even use that at all. And then towards the very end, they do a very interesting scene. It was probably one of the best scenes in the film. I loved the way they connected this film with previous Paranormal Activity films. And it was the scene where where our main character traveled through the door, and it took him to, this is my assumption or my opinion on what happened. It's kind of confusing in all honesty. Probably the only thing, 1 out of 10 rating, I probably have to give it a 9 just because, the film's a little confusing at parts. But it's the part where he walks through the door at the very end, and he walks, where the house is there, and it takes him, to what I see, it takes him to the events in the first film. Because, right before, he's thrown into the camera. So you can kind of gather a few different things, what happened. Is he the creature, or is he the ghost or the monster that was attacking the family in the first film? That's one assumption. That's one thing you could get from it. Or are they just trying to connect it to the first film in a really cool way? I'm not really for sure on how that works. But either way, whatever the case, whatever the ending was, it was a really cool ending that overall I really enjoyed. Overall, a great film, a fun film, an entertaining film, and I do think if you're into the Paranormal Activity films, I think that you're gonna like this one. If you're not, you might still end up liking it, mainly because of the cool concept. My only minor complaint is that after the film is said and done, there are kind of a few plot holes. There still are some unsaid things. You still don't know too much. You know that this witch's coven marked them, and there's still some things that you don't really know too much about that overall just make the film kind of confusing. And maybe when the sequels come up to Activity, they'll keep playing off this marked ones thing, and they'll keep, wrapping things up, and maybe eventually all the details will be revealed. And in that case, this movie gets a 10 out of 10. But for right now, it's all a 9 out of 10 because it's just a little confusing at parts. But besides that, it's really entertaining. And I'm really curious to see the sequels to Paranormal Activity after this. I'm going to see 5 because I always do. But I really, that's what I do. It's kind of a tradition of mine to see them in theaters. But now that they're going down this marked route, and hopefully they keep going, maybe it'll be a decent film. So that's pretty much my thoughts and opinions on the film by the name of Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones, directed and written by a guy by the name of Christopher Landon. Once again, thanks for watching the video by Centipede Geek. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the page below, and I'll see you guys later. More videos by Centipede Geek.